While we're on the subject of dance, our next story is a part of our series called Art Fusion, which brings you the thoughts of our region's most notable arts leaders. Michael Uthoff, Artistic and Executive Director of Dance St. Louis, has spent his life in dance as a performer, choreographer, and administrator. We recently talked with him about the state of dance in St. Louis and more.
And heels down, tendu forth. Now press your heels forward, right where the toes are, right. Go forward, and there. And 1, and 2. It's the expression of the soul of human being. I think with a gesture, I can tell you a world. You know, I don't need any other vocabulary. I can make you cry, I can make you laugh, I can make you angry. I can do anything, and I can do it with one common denominator that you and I have, which is our body. But the difference is I've trained mine, you have not trained yours. You know, and therefore I have the ability to conjure those images in everybody with nothing else but me. I can do it nude, I can do it with all kinds of costumes, but I can do it. I think that the situation here in St. Louis is very healthy as far as where dance has come, at least since I've been here. I'm not saying we did it, but I think that everybody sort of like rose to the occasion when we set up certain challenges for the local organizations to improve, and they have. Now you've got a whole nucleus of dancers that are getting employment. So I'm optimistic of where we're going, to the point where, for instance, like I teach at Webster, and I can now tell our students, I said, well, before you go wandering the world, look at what's in the backyard. Look at these 3 or 4 organizations, and you might be able to make a career here. Where we don't have is still the understanding for the greater community that professional dance is what it is, professional dance, and that they should come and support it by their presence. We still we're kind of the stepsister, and not even the pretty one, you know. They just sort of like think, oh, well, I don't want to see dance. I think it has something to do with the Puritan attitude of Americans about physicality. They are essentially a little bit shy about letting their body express themselves. For some people, they can't cope with it. Because the truth of the matter is that you go to a dance show, okay, and it can be, these beautiful specimens are moving on stage, and there's nothing more to understand that great elements of movement carried in space. But I think that in some ways there's a stereotype about what dance does. I'm the one that doesn't like program notes, because I figure if you need program notes, something is failing. You know, if I can't literally convey through what we're doing what you're supposed to understand, something is failing. You know, it's like you read a book. If you don't finish the book and you don't know what the book was about, you don't get cleft notes or something at the end telling you, no, this is what you should have thought. You know, you enjoy it and you get it. Dance is the same way. Dance is a very new art form. In other words, it doesn't have the history of music, although we've been dancing since Adam and Eve, if you want to look at it that way. The history of dance goes back to maybe 18th century, maybe latter part of the 17th, and even that. I mean, as far as theatrical dance, I don't mean folk dance. Since that time, most of the 19th century was focusing on classical ballet, and they were doing stupid stories about gods and things. There was a reaction at the beginning of the 20th century, both in the classical world of trying to do things that were more pertinent, but the modern component arose. And you have a series of choreographers that came to life through the First World War. They created a whole movement that for it to exist, it had to be reactionary. So basically it said, we're going to do this, and you cannot go and take ballet lessons. And we were going to create something that's different. The performers realized that it was a stupid premise not to get better as artists, and they kept taking ballet lessons to improve a dancer. And through that, you had people who began all of a sudden to add components of the contemporary dance into it, and at that moment, the lines were blurred. You know, and now all of a sudden you find most ballet companies doing incredible contemporary work, and you're putting the contemporary choreographers in a position where they have to be twice as creative as before, because now they have to come up with something unique. So the problem with modern dance and contemporary ballet as a whole is, in my opinion, it's not a battle anymore. It's a choice. I'm glad I was a dancer when I was in the 60s, because if I were a dancer today with what I had, I don't think I could dance. These new dancers are so well trained that they can get themselves in incredible shapes, you know, by that I mean no incredible physical shape, but incredible forms, and they are basically being exploited by their ability to do so much, to the point that it almost becomes what I call a diarrhea of movement, where you say to them, stop, slow down a little bit, let me glance at the performer, let me see where you're going. Because right now my eyes are going like those cartoons. I had a discussion with a young person, totally like 3 generations younger than I am or more, and I said, why don't you guys ever take a rest? You know, why don't you breathe? Why don't you just stand still? I said, it's not in our core. We need to move. Today's youth appreciates the fact that you have perpetual motion. You know, it's sort of like texting all the time. Spring to Dance is a unique thing. It appeals to every aspect of what we're trying to do. It's non-threatening because it's inexpensive. This is only a $15 experience, but you come in and you're going to see that day 10 companies working in every single aspect of dance. Could be folk, could be jazz, could be contemporary, could be classical ballet. And they don't do it for more than 15 minutes. So what I always say, well, you get to get a taste of everything that's out there. And if you don't like it, in 15 minutes it's over. So there's something else you're gonna like. But we've found out, to our surprise, is that the core audience that comes is more fascinated by the strange things. It's more fascinated by the things that they don't comprehend. And I'm not saying it translates on them going over to see that someplace else. That might not be the case. But their response is like they flock to see something unexpected. People have to understand that unless they're going to expect corporations and the government to subsidize the arts, the responsibility is theirs.